Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz, and welcome to the March edition of Upcoming Wargames, the video where we take a look at various wargames in various states of production from wargaming companies across the planet. As always, this video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. If you're looking for wargames, tabletop wargames, new or used, they are a place I would highly recommend you check out. By the way, thank you to everybody who has used some of the links down below to purchase games from them, because that helps the channel out a little bit as well. And as always with Noble Knight Games and their sponsorship, we're giving away a $50 store credit to Noble Knight Games. This month, however, put your thinking caps on, because this time the contest is a little bit different. It's a puzzle. And the puzzle is hidden in the video. So in order to enter this month's competition, first of all, you have to figure out what the puzzle is, and then you have to solve it. Now, there are 4 hints hidden in the puzzle to help you find what the puzzle is. I've already given away one of those hints, but I wanted to do this because you're wargamers, right? And wargamers like to think, right? So you got this. I have confidence in you. Good luck to everybody. Can you find the puzzle and can you solve it? I'll put instructions on how to enter at the end of the video. And off we go. Oh, one more thing. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yes, it's raining again, as people have mentioned in the comments down below. It seems to be always raining here when I do one of these things, but that's not the one more thing. The last thing before we jump in and get started looking at newly released games is to remind you that our collaborative partner in this is the channel Shelf Clutter. Adam is a wonderful human being who does weekly crowdfunding updates on games that are in Kickstarter, on GameFound, and all kinds of things like that. So if you want to keep up to the date on weekly updates, he includes wargames in there as well. So what's going on in the crowdfunding scene, there's a link to his channel down below. And now let's get started with our newly released games. Our first newly released game, but it's not really a newly released game. See, it was released and now it's not released. I'll talk about that in a minute if you're confused. Berestechko 1651 from the Snafu design team. This is a very small footprint game. The hex board is literally 10 hexes by 10 hexes. And if we look at some of the technical data down here on the side here, playing time is 1 hour. I do think the complexity is relatively medium here too, though. Nevertheless, 1 hour playing time, and we can see 45 counters and a 16-page rule book. One map designed for 2 players. But if we look at the counters here in this example sheet here, we can see a good bit of complexity here. You know, good activation numbers, resistance, the type of dice and things like that. This was one of the largest battles in the 17th century, the Cossacks against the Poles and Lithuanians. And so this game here, we can also see there's not too much image information on their website, but if we look on Board Game Geek, we can get a sense for what the layout of the game is here. And again, this game was released, and I saw on Twitter today that there was an issue with registration on some of the counters, so they're fixing that. So it looks like it's not available now on the store because of that. I assume it'll be coming back very soon. But again, one of these small footprint, quick to play games, not very expensive. I think it's under 20 euros, which is like $600 or something like that. Just kidding. It's like $22, right? So, one of those games, kind of easy to try, easy to commit to, quick to play and quick to bring to the table, but looks like it's got a pretty good amount of complexity here. So Berestechko 1651 from Snafu Games, just released and soon to be re-released from Snafu Games. Our second newly released game, Bismarck, The Last Battle from Compass Games, and designed by Petros Sorilos. This one completely slipped by my radar, but I just got word a little while ago that it's shipping now. This one is a solitaire game where you take charge of the Bismarck and the Prince Eugen, try to do as much damage to British shipping in the North Atlantic, and survive for those 5 days in the early stages of World War II. Looks like a very interesting game. I'm interested to see how they use the solitaire matrix. If we look at we can see it's a small map. Again, this is going to be a game that plays fast. The notes here says it plays an average play time is 1 to 2 hours, designed for solitaire, card-driven game, and you're trying to do damage as the Prince Eugen and the Bismarck, and then also survive. We can see various cards here representing the British ships and stuff in the area. We looked at the Chase for the Bismarck by Vuca Sims, which is a double blind game in this same area. This, of course, takes it a completely different way. And the ratings on Board Game Geek here are pretty promising, although newly released games tend to be high, right? And then they can kind of slide around a little bit after that. But some of I've looked through some of the reviews here and stuff like that, and it looks promising. And if we look here, we can see the map here, which again, we've got Iceland, we've got the 5 days up top. I'm not sure what these German markers here. There's weather factored in as well, damage locations. We're talking about main guns and stuff like that. where it's hitting torpedo damage and stuff, combat results and everything. So it looks like it's going to have perhaps a fairly good blend of playability and complexity. And, I don't know, again, the replayability of how is it going to be as a game. It does say there is a campaign mode, and a sandbox mode. And I'm not quite sure the distinguishing factors between those. But it looks like it could be a very kind of compact, fun, solitaire player experience. I'd be curious if anyone's gotten it yet, if they've had a chance to play it and what they think of it. But Bismarck, The Last Battle from Compass Games, newly released out from them and out in the wild as we speak. Let's jump over now to our imminent release category. This game, I just got word, went to Kickstarter today from Compass Games. And again, they do their crowdfunding where just before the game's ready to release, they put up a really short Kickstarter and then they ship the game right after that. So if you missed the pre-order stage, this is kind of the last chance to get it at a discount. This game is a Schutztruppe Heia Safari 1914 to 1918, designed by Dennis Bishop. Now, this is a two-player game. Have East Africa, 1914 to 1918 is talking about in World War I. One player plays the Germans and one player plays the Entente. Time play says 3 to 4 hours, but this is, again, a game that stretches over 3 years and each turn is a month. So that feels, I feel like it might be longer. I mean, that's a lot of turns, right? That's over 40 turns in the game. Solitaire rating is rated as high. But I don't see any references in the rules for a solitaire bot or things like that. I think it's probably just more that you can play both sides pretty well. 3 counter sheets, a mounted map, which we can see kind of right here over my shoulder and things like that. Looks like it's a cool game. And one of the things that interested me is here, as I was reading on this history, where it talks about the Germans had their 3,000 troops and the Askari, which was 15,000 troops, going against, opposed by some 300,000 men of the Entente, that's 20 to 1 odds, right? That's not good odds. So it immediately kind of picks my interest here and says, oh, okay, what was this kind of battle about here? So very interesting. I mean, it looks like it'd be fun. We'll take a look here down at the rules too. Very standard sequence of play. So it's going to be alternating turns. You've got a weather phase at the beginning, an initiative roll, then reinforcement, movement, naval combat, land combat. Then it alternates, and then you kind of lather, rinse, repeat as you go through the game. But we can take a look at the rule book here. I think it's close to 16 pages. Not too much text, not really a lot of kind of explanatory graphics in here, but it's got a naval phase in here. So we're talking about, again, sea movement and things like that, reinforcements, supply, land combat, bombardments. And then we go up here, gunboats, some special rules, and then some design notes. So 12 pages of rules, including the victory conditions here. I don't see if there's more than one scenario. But that might be in a different document someplace. So I don't want to overstate things here. There might be multiple scenarios, but I'm not quite sure. But it looks like kind of a really fun two-player game that's going to be able to get to the table, play well, not too hard to learn. It kind of certainly explores an area of history that I'm not very familiar with and I haven't had a chance to play in game format yet. So I'm pretty interested in this one. This one looks like it might be a very interesting game. Schutztruppe, Heia Safari from Compass Games. Next up, ONUS Traianus from Draco Ideas. Now we're looking at the Kickstarter page for this one. This is on imminent release in that it's a chance to pre-order the game before its retail release. The Kickstarter is completed, and I believe the Kickstarter backers are getting or have already gotten their games already. And I'll talk more about that momentarily. This is a game that I went from knowing absolutely nothing about to thinking, yeah, it's not really a game I think I'm going to like, to no, I'm really curious about this game. So let me explain a little bit here. So what you can see here, there's a playmat here. Now the playmat doesn't come with the retail version. I think it's kind of a Kickstarter backer. So basically it's a game you just play on a table, much like a miniatures game. But it's not miniatures, it's cards that come with the game itself. And this is tactical combat in the Age of Rome with a lot of different nationalities and unit types thrown in. Very much kind of a sandbox. There are scenarios, but there's also kind of a sandbox element where you kind of have point values for each of your cards and you can build up your units to whatever kind of scope and size you want. And then your opponent has the same point values. And then you go at it and you basically just duke it out with this tactical combat system. Now, I'm not usually one that likes, I'm kind of just scrolling through things here too. Oh, actually, before I talk about that, generals, there's event cards to throw in, twists and stuff like that. It looks like it's a system that's had a lot of thought and play through it. And this is, I think, I might get this wrong, the second evolution of this ONUS series. There was an earlier game a number of years ago, and this is kind of an evolution of that series to its latest iteration. And this one, again, as I was kind of looking, I went from, well, yeah, I'm not really like that because I generally find miniatures games kind of fiddly. So I get a little bit nervous about it. And I like the constraints of hexes and areas and things like that. So I was a little bit like, yeah, I'm not sure it's something I want to spend time with. But then I came down here and I watched the Learn to Play video, which was like 20, 30 minutes long. If you're thinking about, if this one's interesting, I would watch this. Because I think if you watch this and think, no, this is pretty cool, I think that's where you're kind of, this is a game that might be for you. But as I watched through this, I was like, I think I know how to play. I mean, I'm sure there's edge cases with special abilities and units and stuff like that. But the core rules of how units move and how units engage and how units fight, it seems like, no, this is really straightforward. It looks really playable and it looks really fun. And I love the artwork on the cards and stuff like that too. Also, we can take here a look at the rule book. Rulebook it's 52 pages, which sounds like, yeah, okay, that's not fiddly at all. But it's really up to page 35 where you have kind of the main rules that cover things like charging and special maneuvers and the movement phase, action cards and generals and things like that. And then the back rules here are optional ways to play. So you've got optional rules to kind of enhance the depth and replay abilities, rules for games with 4, 6 players, 3 or 5 players. Unit abilities are in here too, so you can kind of constantly refreshen your gameplay by bringing in different units with different abilities and things like that. But the general sequence of play seems very straightforward and very clear. I also looked here on the Board Game Geek and reading some of the ratings of people that have gotten the game. Very promising. I mean, they're by and large, the vast majority are, this is really fun kind of thing. So people kind of playing the game now that are saying really good things about it. I'm curious if people are out there and are playing it, how you like it. I'd really like to be kind of curious about that too. And also I wanted to point out here is a full-fledged solo bot system. Now you kind of have to play these, right, to get a sense for how they're going to work. And one thing I wonder about when I see, I think it's about 18 pages, maybe a little bit more, maybe 20 pages or so. Oh, not that many. 12 pages. Yeah, 12 pages. That's not a ton. Is how executable is it as a solo system? But looking through the solo rules here, it looks pretty executable. So again, I went from not knowing anything about it to thinking, yeah, just at a glance, it's like, not sure, to like, no, I really want to try this out. I will be doing a sponsored playthrough of this game at the end of April, early May. And even better news, if you're a viewer, we'll be giving away a free retail copy to people in the continental United States. So that's something to look forward to coming up in the early spring here. So ONUS Traianus from Draco Ideas, it is available on their shop here for order for that release coming up in May. And I'll be bringing some gameplay to the channel in a couple of months as well. Next up in our imminent release last call is For the People from GMT Games. This is the U.S. Civil War strategic game designed by Mark Herman and developed by Mark Simonich with Roger McGowan as it. And this is the special For the People edition. Now, I remember when I was first looking for a U.S. Civil War strategic game, I was trying to decide between For the People and Mark Simonich's U.S. Civil War. And I went with Mark Simonich's U.S. Civil War, but I always wondered about For the People because I've heard good things about it. I mean, it's Mark Herman, right? So, okay, that makes it pretty easy. If you are interested in this one, again, if we take a quick look here, here's some kind of screenshots of the gameplay, kind of strategic view. U.S. Civil War looks really cool. I've heard really good things about it. It was really a hard choice between U.S. Civil War and For the People, but what kind of tipped me over to the thing like, yeah, I think I'm going to go for the P500, which again, this is going to ship, I think, soon. So this is kind of the last chance to get that discounted P500 price is this special 25th anniversary edition cover. How cool is that? For someone who's got to have it all, it's like, there's your chance right there. So For the People, it looks like a fantastic U.S. Civil War strategic game designed by Mark Herman, published by GMT Games. Coming soon, last chance to get the P500 price before it starts shipping. Another game in the imminent release category comes from Nuts Publishing. This is a game we've talked about on upcoming Wargamings a number of years ago. 1917 and 1918 Italia from Nuts Publishing, covering the Italian front in World War I. Now, this is based on the Marne 1918 and the Somme 1918 system. It's got events, a bunch of scenarios, 700 counters, a zoom map that allows you to kind of play some of the smaller scenarios at a wider hex size, and then a global map that allows you to play the entire kind of campaign game, kind of combining all things with unit redeployment and stuff like that. Map looks fantastic here. Counters look fantastic. Looks like it's got great artistic vision, and the event cards look fantastic too. This is one I've been following for quite a while here. Here's a scenario list kind of get it set up encounters and things like that. But it's definitely, it looks like a labor of love. I know this one's been in development for a long time. A labor of love covering an area of wargaming that isn't, at least in my impression, often covered. Central Powers set up as well. So there we have it. Nuts Publishing. This one looks like it's getting ready to ship almost any day now, sometime in March, it looks like. It is available from the Nuts Publishing website. Also from the Ares Publishing is a distributor worldwide. You can order it there as pre-order as well. So Italia, 1917, 1918 from Nuts Publishing. World War I operational level game on a rather large 700 counter scale with also a bunch of scenarios for scenarios of 1 hour or a little bit longer too. So looks like a fun game coming out soon. And now we slide into our full Kickstarting mode. This is the crowdfunding game that's currently on Kickstarter. Shipping is predicted to be in October. From Worthington Publishing, Gettysburg, A Time for Heroes. It's already reached its Kickstarting goal, its modest Kickstarting goal, so it's up to $16,000 here with 10 days left to go. So this is a don't dally kind of thing if you're interested in this one. This is a Gettysburg 1863, of course, U.S. Civil War, the historic Battle of Gettysburg. And it looks like we've got kind of a point-to-point movement system. This says it's based on their Chancellorsville game, I think, but further developed the popular system from Chancellorsville's 1863. I've not played that one, so I'm not quite familiar with it. But if we look here at the draft version of the rules, we can kind of get a sense for what kind of things are in here. We've got some major and minor activations, tactics cards, momentum cubes, you're paying activation cards, you've got play activation cards and things like that, tactics cards, all kinds of things like that, simultaneous destruction. Now there's a concept for you. And if we look here at the map a little bit, we can again get a sense for what kind of things are going on. We've got generals down on the side here, point to point in the middle, tactics cards moving through a system. So it looks like a moderate complexity, probably moderate to light complexity game. The blocks here too, here's some of the generals, the leaders cards, the commander cards. So down in here, and then we've got, faltering, confidence, confused retreat. You know, this kind of how Civil War games model the chaos of the battle is always interesting to see. So I'm kind of curious to see how this card-based system works. And then we've got blocks for the different units and things like that too. Some extra copies as an add-on. So pretty straightforward Kickstarter. But if you are familiar with the Chancellorsville system, this looks like a great addition to that one. 10 days left to go on Kickstarter. Gettysburg, A Time from Heroes from Worthington Publishing. Let's go to Vuca Sims for a newly discovered, new to me type of game. This one looks like it's one of their imminent releases. It's still available on pre-order, shipping in June-ish, I think it is. This is 1812, Napoleon's Fateful March. I want to do a quick side quest here. This graphic. This is one of my favorite graphics. Some of you might know it, but it's a graphic of Napoleon's march on Moscow in 1812. So it's the graphic about this game, right? And it shows here on the left-hand side, like right above my head, the tan width is Napoleon, the size of Napoleon's army as it's heading out to Moscow. And then when it gets to Moscow, you can see how big it was. Then it starts coming back, and that's the black width here. And you can just see it dissipating. And then over here, right to the left of my head as you're looking at it on this way, is the 10,000 men roughly that survived the ordeal. I mean, the stories and the catastrophes and the tragedy that's in this graphic and the way it exemplifies it with the temperature down here low. So you can see the people, it's not just combat, of course, it's the starvation and the freezing and the weather and all these kinds of things. But this is just one of my favorite graphics of all time. This here is the game of that graphic. So let's take a quick look. Here's the box back. Let me see if I can just zip out a little bit on this. There we go. Go a little bit more like that, baby. Basically. So yeah, so we get, it's Vuca Sim, so the production quality is just amazing. It's a point-to-point based game from what we can see of the map here. It does say complexity of 4. And if we take a look at the rules here, the rules do look like it's pretty modest complexity, probably. I mean, their estimates are usually right on target, 23 pages of rules here. The thing I also like about it, it says it's 2 to 6 hours of gameplay, but there are 6 scenarios. So it looks like there's different starting points here. Like scenario 6 is the retreat of the Grande Armée, whereas number 3 is the Grand Campaign. Number 2 is the Eagles March on Moscow, Eagles March on Smolensk. So it looks like you've got opportunities to play a portion of this epic, ebb and flow kind of thing to the whole, the whole thing, the Grand Campaign in and of itself. So combine this kind of theme with Vuca Sim's attention to detail and graphic quality, it looks just really a kind of fascinating game. I did notice as well, if we look at the backs of the box here, it says Solitaire Suitability 1. Yeah, this is a big graphic now because I've got it blown up. So it does look like, and there's a blind element in here as we look at these things here. These are the components. This is not super clear. We had to blow it up, but a little bit. Mounted map, 29.5 inches by 22 inches, 108 cards. So there's going to be kind of a card-driven element to this, of course. Player aid sheets, and then 14 liter screens. So it sounds like you're hiding some information from your opponent, which is where I'm guessing that 1 for a solitaire rating. So this is definitely a 2-player game. It's not a game. It doesn't look like you're going to be able to play very well solitaire. 4 counter sheets, sticker sheet. There are blocks here too. I'm not sure what the blocks are for or how it all works together. I'm kind of just piecing together what I can from what I see here. But yeah, it looks fantastic. And to be able to, again, to go back to this, to play this in game format just is really, really appealing. It kind of going in line with my newly expanded goal for 2024, which is to play and experience more of Napoleon's Wargames. So really looking forward to this one. This one looks really, really good. Very high on terms of my list of interest coming up. And before we leave Vuca Sim's website, just because it's fun to look at, I just thought I'd call attention to some of their games that are in production to kind of put on your distant radar. They've got 6 here, and all of them look interesting in various degrees of, oh, cool to, oh, incredibly awesome. Modern Tactics here, which is Afghanistan. It's number 1 in their series, simulates small unit engagements from the period of the Vietnam War up to the present and near future battlefields. The rules and gameplay have evolved from the old school tactical system, which Shane Logan developed in 2015. This new system relies heavily on that gameplay, so any players transitioning from that game will feel right at home here with Modern Tactics. So a modern tactical game based on the old school tactical system. Looks really interesting for that one. Seminole Catastrophe, the Imperial World at War from 1850 to 1920. It's a card-driven game that blends diplomacy, warfare, and statecraft. And with that epic 70-year time scale, I mean, this is a really kind of interesting game. I'm sure it's going to, it kind of blends diplomacy, warfare, and statecraft. Kind of an interesting blend of action and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see how that one looks as it goes forward. This one as well caught my eye here. Mirages, Formation Series number 1. So it covers 4 battles in the African theater of war in World War II, Operations Compass, Brevity, Battle Axe, and Scorpion. Based on the highly successful games Crossing the Line, Across the Bug River, and Operation Theseus, this game will be the first using actual series rules that will make transitioning between the games much more easy. Okay. I think they all look good, right? Prelude to Blitzkrieg. This is based on 1914 Nach Paris game, In Force to Heaven, the invasion of Poland, 1939, and then the Far Seas, which is German cruiser operations at the outset of World War I. So there's a quick look at, we got one more down here, Wargram 1809. Designed by Jeff Noble, first in a planned series of games designed to place an emphasis on command at the individual formation level. So interesting there. But yeah, a number of these caught my eye. Looking forward to see what's up at Vuca Sims as they go forward. But again, they certainly are a new and uprising force in wargaming, especially with their incredible graphic design and attention to detail. Lots of fun stuff coming from Vuca Sims. Another newly announced game, this one from GMT Games, was announced last month, and it's on their P500 system, Lenin's Legacy. This is designed by Matthias Kramer, and I confess when I first heard the name, and I thought, it's not really a topic that I find all that compelling, right? But then I realized the designer is Matthias Kramer, and he and his wife designed The Hunt, which is a game I've played of his that we featured on the channel a little bit. And I've heard people talk about Matthias's game where they say that, you look at the game and the individual pieces and you think, okay, that's kind of cool. And then you play it and you realize all the ways that the pieces work together and weave together to create these layers of strategy in his games. And it's just a masterful way that he exudes a lot of gameplay out of a game that on the surface looks rather straightforward. That was my experience with The Hunt. You kind of look at it and you think, okay, and you play it once, you're like, okay. And then as you play it a few more times, you're like, oh, okay, this is really subtle. Lots of different things you can do. So I just have tremendous respect for his influence on game design. And so that's what made me think, okay, maybe this is something I want to be interested in. And then looking at the cards here, my interest level went up more. And if we just kind of zero in on the theme for a second here too, as the description here describes, it says, Lenin's Legacy is a fast-paced game about the power struggle between Stalin and Trotsky in the early days of the USSR. So a lot of influence. We can see the card-based play with points and values and events and different ways you can use the cards. I think there's going to be a lot of subtle strategies to kind of weave through this political era in USSR history. Sounds like it's going to be fascinating. And should also mention a full solo system involved in the game too. So we get to experience Matthias Kramer's design, but not only that, but get to experience in a solo-friendly format. So my interest in this game went way up. Lenin's Legacy from GMT Games, new to P500. So we won't see this one for a while, right? Because it's just in the beginning stages of the P500 system. But it did catch my attention, especially because of my respect for Matthias as a designer. Last in the newly discovered game, which kind of is drifting towards the new release here, because this one I think looks like it's probably will see the light of day in 2024. This is Miracle at Dunkerque from Legion Wargames, designed by Herman Lutman. So, okay, I mean, extremely well-known designer here, creating what is a solitaire game about the Battle of Dunkirk in World War II. If we look here at the map graphics on this one looks really interesting. I mean, the scale of the game, there's one scenario, 22-inch by 25.5-inch map. And basically kind of looks like you're going to be defending as the British, as the Germans are attacking down here, and the French probably involved too, trying to defend the Dunkirk beaches and trying to get off as many troops as possible. And here we can see it's kind of an area point-to-point based type of game. Where you're going to be trying to save basically as many people as you possibly can against the inevitable defeat and overrun by the Germans. The counters here look spectacular. So it's a counter-based game. It says 3/4 inch by 1 inch in terms of the counter size. And then if we look at game details here, it's 24 pages of rules, so probably moderate to game complexity. 117 poker size event cards. So it's going to be an event-driven system in it as well. One scenario, solitaire high, complexity medium, and the unit size here is battalions to divisions. So tremendous respect for Herman Lutman as a designer. So this one really went up on my radar here. I had seen the box and the cover on Legion Wargames, but I didn't realize that Herman was the designer of it. And given his kind of expertise in designing systems like this could be a ton of fun. I mean, I like the theme too, and the fact that it's a solo-friendly game. So Miracle at Dunkirque coming up from Legion Wargames at some point in 2024. And there you have it, everybody. We've frittered away another half an hour talking about future war games that we can buy and enjoy. I do want to spend a moment talking about how to enter the $50 giveaway to Noble Knight Games. So again, I mentioned there is a puzzle hidden in the video. The puzzle is going to give you a one-word answer. Don't post it in the comments. If you post it in the comments, you're immediately disqualified and I will delete your post. Or if you post it somewhere else, you're disqualified. How you enter is there's a link to a Google form down below. I do need to collect emails so I don't get multiple entries from the same person. But as always, I will delete those emails as soon as the competition's over and they will not be shared with anybody. I have no interest in collecting your emails. There'll also be the one-word question where you're going to type in the answer to the riddle. And so good luck, everybody. Did you find the hints in the video? I wonder how many people are going to get it right. I have confidence in wargamers as a whole that you're going to be able to figure out this puzzle. Good luck, everybody. Drop your entry in the competition. We'll pick the winner on the upcoming channel update, which comes out in about two and a half weeks or so. So you got about a little bit more weeks to figure out the answer to the puzzle before we draw our winner in that episode. So be sure to check in for that one to see if you won. No hints given other than, so you tweet me or text, no information given out other than what I've given in here. Everyone's got the same advantage. Good luck, everybody. See if you can figure out the puzzle. We'll see you on the monthly update in about 2.5, 3 weeks or so. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.